So now it all comes down to this. Do you want to live in a free country or not?
About that, with just in terms of inflation, because you had told us at a town hall, I think it was in July, that
Hey, let's go, Brandon. I keep a drum like I'm Nick Cannon. Hey, let's go, Brandon. Pandemic ain't real, they just planned it. Hey, let's go, Brandon. When you ask questions, they start banning. Hey, let's go, Brandon. Hey, let's go, Brandon. Hey, let's go, Brandon. I keep a drum like I'm Nick Cannon. Hey, let's go, Brandon. Pandemic ain't real, they just planned it. Hey, let's go, Brandon. You ask questions, they start.
Oh my God, it's just such an unbelievable moment.
Brandon, you also told me, as you can hear the chants from the crowd, let's go, Brandon.
Hey guys, it's been a while since my last video and so much has happened since then. So many topics to discuss, so let's just get right into it. So Let's Go Brandon has become a nationwide phenomenon. In case you've been living under a rock, it started as an F Joe Biden chant at outdoor and sporting events. Now, a reporter was interviewing Brandon Brown, who had just won a NASCAR race, when you could hear the crowd chanting F Joe Biden. Now, the reporter interviewing him thought, or claimed to have thought, that they were chanting support for Brandon, and thus the Let's Go Brandon meme was born. Since then, it has become the most popular meme in the nation, and several rappers made Let's Go Brandon songs, and now the top 3 songs on iTunes are various versions of Let's Go Brandon. So why has this F Joe Biden thing taken off the way it has? Because the Biden administration has been grabbing power at an unprecedented rate. The pandemic has allowed the left an excuse to push an authoritarian agenda, and they use the coup as a reason to control every aspect of our lives. People like Whitmer in Michigan or Newsom in California have basically become authoritarians. They're ruling as if they're kings, and they're able to do this with fear. And it's our own fault that it's happening. Ben Franklin once said, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." And this is where we are right now. They use the pandemic to scare us into giving them more power. You know, they say things like, don't worry, it's only temporary until things go back to normal. But things will never go back to normal unless we stand up for our rights and demand our freedom. Look at Australia. They're building quarantine camps for those who have not had access to vaccination. But the scary part is these camps won't be ready until like 2022. I mean, they're not looking at this from a short-term thing. I mean, this is a long-term thing. This isn't going away. If anything, it's accelerating. Australia has become an authoritarian nightmare. And if you think it can't happen here, I mean, you're dangerously naive. Just look how quickly the Biden administration went from saying they would never mandate a shot to now mandating a shot. In July, the White House said specifically, it is not our role to issue mandates. And just a few months later, they issued mandates. Something they admit is not their role. And the states are fighting back though. Now 24 states are fighting back against the Biden administration. And it's not the federal government's role to force its population to undergo a medical procedure they're uncomfortable with. You know, I'm not against the shot at all. In fact, I have both of my shots. But I believe people have the right to make that decision for themselves. And I don't want to go into the whole debate over the shot. You know, I just find it scary that it's come to this point. But we can't cave to them and, give up our rights. You think it will stop there? I mean, this is a war of attrition. They will move in on us inch by inch until they have blown through our front door. And by that point, it's too late. You know, the Biden administration has politicized the CDC, the FBI, and now the IRS. You know, they wanted to monitor every transaction over $600. I mean, seriously, if you want to sell a lawnmower on Craigslist, Joe Biden wants you to run it by him first. I mean, stay out of our pockets. We file our taxes. We don't need you policing every transaction. I mean, it's crazy. Luckily, the public found out about this and they backed down. But think, that's the kind of crap we're dealing with. Now, I am encouraged by the amount of people fighting back. I mean, you see the protests in New York. You know, we're not just going to sit here and let it happen. The tides are starting to turn, and more people are waking up to what's happening. People you would never expect, like Nicki Minaj and even Russell Brand. And it's because people are seeing through the lies. Like Joe Rogan, calling out CNN for the lies they told about him, saying that he was taking a horse dewormer. And I got a huge amount of satisfaction seeing him call him out on his podcast. Then to see them double down on their lie, I mean, it's proving his point for him. They were winning the culture war, but they've been stepping on too many toes, and it's starting to come back on them. CNN forgets that Joe Rogan has 10 times the viewership they do. Imagine how many people got red-pilled seeing that Rogan episode. But that's the thing. CNN is desperate. Their ratings are almost as low as Joe Biden's approval. And does anyone see them as a credible source at all? They were just a mouthpiece for the Democrats, which is why I see them as one and the same. I mean, they are the problem. They're the reason the Biden administration is so blatant with their power grabs, because they know the media has their back. I mean, here you have Nancy Pelosi blaming the media for their $3.5 trillion spending bill facing opposition.
So do you think you need to do a better job at messaging, and going forward, how do you sell this if ultimately you have to.
Well, I think you all could do a better job of selling it, to be very frank with you.
It's not the media's job to sell people on how they should like the bill. It's the politicians' job to propose bills that the people will like. Imagine if this was Trump. The media would be calling him a fascist. And how do they get away with this stuff? It's insane. You know, Joe Biden refuses to speak to them. And when he does, we get stuff like this.
I have the freedom to kill you. And I don't know, I guess it's 2 weeks or a week. I think I'm losing track of time. What am I doing here? Los Angeles and don't pay a cent.
About that, with just in terms of inflation, because you had told us at a town hall, I think it was in July, that
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. He commits to defending Taiwan against China, and then the White House fact checks him on it mid-speech. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, they are so out of touch. And what they lack in common sense, they overcompensate with smugness. We're in the middle of a supply crisis where people can't get goods or services. Store shelves are empty and prices are going through the roof. And Jen Psaki just makes jokes about it.
It was crystal clear that things were not improving on supply chain. People couldn't get dishwashers and furniture and treadmills delivered on time, not to mention all sorts of other things. So why is
the tragedy of the treadmill that's delayed?
Right. So you think Americans are just upset that their treadmills haven't come in? I'm in retail sales and it's a crisis. We don't have product to sell and it's killing our business. You would think they would be more focused on getting Americans back to work instead of dumping illegal border crossers into random cities in the middle of the night. And the smugness doesn't stop there.
Why is the administration flying thousands of migrants from the border to Florida and New York in the middle of the night?
Well, I'm not sure that it's in the middle of the night. It is our
4:29 a.m.
Well,
very early in the morning.
Here we are talking about early flights, earlier than you might like to take a flight.
I mean, it's not about the times of the flights. It's the fact that they were flying them in a covert way and then trying to act like there's nothing to see here. And then finally she gets asked about the $1 trillion Build Back Better plan and says it won't add anything to the debt because she says so.
Does the president still believe that Build Back Better will not add a dime to the national debt?
Correct, it won't.
Why should Americans believe that?
Because it won't.
They think we're complete idiots, or they just don't care and think we can't stop them. Either way, this administration is furthering the destruction of this country. Now, before I continue, I must warn you, I'm about to talk about something that involves animal cruelty and puppies. So if you're sensitive to those kinds of topics, I suggest you cut this off and we'll catch you on the next video. So Dr. Fauci has been on the news lately for probably the most horrible thing you could imagine. First, the NIH confirmed that the U.S. funded gain-of-function research despite the lies Fauci told Congress. But even worse, it came to light that he funded experiments that involved taking puppies, cutting out their vocal cords so they couldn't bark or whine, and then putting their heads in boxes with starving sand fleas until they were bitten to death. I mean, I don't think I've ever been so angry. I have 2 beautiful puppies of my own, and the thought of anyone doing something to harm them just sends me into a rage. These people should be in jail. I mean, Fauci lied to Congress about gain-of-function research, and I don't care what they learned. Doing what they did to those puppies is just plain evil. And like I said, this administration is destroying our country, and they're doing it at an insane pace. That's because they know their time is limited. Americans are waking up, and they're certain to get destroyed in 2022. You know, it took Carter to get Reagan, and it's taken Biden to spark a resurgence of conservative values in this country. Now I see a young generation of people who are waking up and understanding what it truly means to be an American. And it pleases me to know that there are so many on our side who are smart, strong, and willing to fight for the principles the United States is built on. I love my country, and I know there are millions of Americans who feel the exact same way I do. Our country needs us right now, so it's time to make our voices heard.
What's going on? God-fearing, gun-toting patriots. I love the Second Amendment. God gave it to me. Not one politician, not one government legislation can take it from us.
I'm a gun-toting patriot, God-fearing patriot. Bryson, why they mad? Cause I'm real and they be faking it. Free speech advocate, it's on my mind, I'm saying it. I'm about to buy another gun and ain't nobody taking it. Gun-toting Bible.